From being the right-hand man to one of the most famous actors on the show, to becoming one of the most successful mine bosses in the Klondike, this is how Rick Ness found the biggest gold mine ever. Anyone who knows how great the Gold Rush TV show is will be able to tell you how interesting the characters are. If fans of the Discovery Channel show aren't interested in the characters, they'll be interested in the show itself. During the 14 seasons of the show, viewers must have been interested in seeing how Parker Schnabel, a young and promising miner, reached his full potential as a gold miner. They may have also been interested in seeing how Tony Beets, a veteran of the show, went from being a consultant to becoming the so-called king of the Klondike. Because of this, fans may have forgotten about Rick Ness, who was one of the first cast members. He started his career on Gold Rush in 2010, but he may not be as well known on the show. Rick used to work as Parker's right-hand man, but after 8 seasons with the gifted miner, he decided it might be time to strike out on his own as a gold miner. At least, that's what people thought when he came back in Season 9 as the mine boss. Since then, Rick and his fearless crew have decided to take on the harsh and unforgiving conditions of the Klondike, because none of us want to go home empty-handed. Soon, Rick and his crew will be finding that sweet gold. His crew would soon realize that their work in the Klondike region of Dawson City, Yukon, Canada, wasn't just a search for gold. They had actually embarked on the adventure of a lifetime. This adventure would be full of tales of hardships and triumphs that would captivate the Gold Rush community. The tailings are all the way back in this loose box. We're losing gold. Shut that thing down when you see how the fans who were interested in Rick Ness's mining company probably found it so interesting because they had never seen someone handle the stress and uncertainty of the gold mining business like the main man himself. He probably even seriously considered closing down Camp G's when he was Parker's foreman and right-hand man crewmen, and viewers at home were impressed with how calm Rick was when he had to deal with the harsh conditions of the Klondike and the problems that came with it going forward. He continued to be this competent when he came back to the show in its 9th season, hoping to hit the ground running. Rick and his men worked hard to overcome many challenges so that they could get 1,150 ounces of gold out of the mines in his first season as a mine boss. That's pretty impressive, don't you think? It shows how determined he and his team are. As much as it confirmed his status as a gold miner, it also earned him the respect and admiration of his peers and fans when he overcame the same problems that the other miners had to. Soon, this trial by fire gave the new mine boss the experience he needed, and by season 11 of the show, he and his team had extracted more than 1,000 ounces of gold from the ground, making them at least $2 million. You could say that this was finally the season he had been waiting for. After proving himself to be a good mining boss in season 11, Rick decided it was time to take things a step further by setting a bigger goal for the future. He said, "It's scary because it's a big commitment, but it's also exciting because I'm going to own my own ground," which is why he thought it would make a lot of sense to take 2,000 ounces of gold from the mines in the Yukon throughout the season. We also thought that made sense for season 12 of the show. It would bring them more money and help them build their reputation as gold miners. But Rick would soon learn that it's not always easy to carry out one's plans. The problems with his plans became clear when he realized he might not have enough men to reach his new 2,000 goal. To deal with this issue at the start of the season, Rick decided that the best thing to do was to improve his operation by buying some massive $500,000 equipment to make up for the lack of men on his workforce. Amazingly, this seemed to work, because at the end of the season, Rick revealed that this expensive equipment helped him and his team extract 247 ounces of gold from the lines that season. However, this success would not last long, as Rick had to take yet another break from the show before he could fully enjoy his victory, because he had to deal with some important issues that needed to be dealt with right away. He had been depressed, and everyone knows how important it is to take care of your mental health. The rest of the crew and the fans back home were understanding enough to let him take a break. That's why they must have been so excited when season 14 started and the boss came back to the show. They couldn't wait to see if he could pick up where he left off, and hopefully this will lead to the discovery of even more gold than before. Before he could go on any more gold mining adventures during the season, he had to get the money he needed to start this new part of his career. That's why he had to sell his mother's house to get the money he needed to start this new gold mining adventure. "I put everything I had into getting ready for this season," he said. Hopefully Mama understood that this is what needed to be done for him to succeed in his new assignment. At least he'd still have the fans who are very excitedly waiting for him to beat the records he set before his mental health problems had such an impact on his career. They will be thrilled to learn that those numbers were peanuts compared to what he has been able to get from the mines this time. With so many ounces of gold being taken out of the Klondike region mines, it looks like Rick and his team are there for serious business. Someone's got to get Mama that brand new house after all. Fans must have thought it was crazy to see Rick go from being Parker's right-hand man to the successful mine boss we see today, especially since he was able to dig up so many ounces of gold before the season was even halfway over. That's some serious work. If anything, Rick's accomplishments show that he was willing to go through anything to reach his goals, especially after the hard times he had to go through in season 13. That's when he took that much-needed time to deal with his seasonal depression. Whatever he did during that time must have worked wonders, because he came back to the show and became a gold-digging machine unlike anyone else who had made it to the Klondike. To be honest, these traits of determination and strength of will in the face of hardship were clear in Rick even when he was Parker's assistant. His ability to learn quickly and adjust to tough situations helped him then, and now he is enjoying the benefits of his intelligence. Fans must have loved seeing him grow, especially after he decided to go it alone as a mind boss in season 9 of the show. As you all know, I've been talking for years about going mining on my own, and now it's finally happening. Fans must have loved seeing him go from thinking he could only get about 1,000 ounces of gold out of the mines to now thinking they can get up to 50,000 ounces. Gold even before they'd spent half the season working in the mines. It must have been interesting for them to see him grow up so quickly, especially since he had to deal with his seasonal affective disorder, SAD, a type of depression that some people seem to be linked to the changing of the seasons. It must have been a lot for Rick since he had never been depressed before. When he started having problems again, it must have been a relief for everyone when he was able to work through them. Things may have gotten worse when he had to deal with the death of his mother, but at least now he may be able to reach his full potential. To be honest, this is a blessing for Rick, his crew, and the fans watching at home, because at least now they have living proof that someone can get through it, all that trouble, so that they could reach their full potential. It should also be noted that his return in season 14 to build on all the success he had already achieved came with a huge personal sacrifice on his part. Perhaps this showed how ambitious he was, as he was willing to do anything to get all this fame and fortune. While it may seem like he was only interested in the glitz and glamour of working on the Gold Rush TV show, his return also brought attention to his trade. After trying to find a way to work around the problematic clay for a while but failing, the team decided to take a break from the problematic frozen clay. It was a sad sight to see this wash plant covered in snow when it should be making gold this time of year. Soon, Rick realized that it might not be a good idea to keep digging there without gravel because the ground needed to thaw first. This made the team realize how close they were to finding a solution. Even though it was a very important problem, they were able to make light of it. Rick's girlfriend was especially helpful because she was able to add some fun and light-hearted elements to the situation. With all of these problems going through his mind, Rick can take some comfort in the fact that they had the biggest gold weigh-in of the season so far, even though they weren't able to break through the frozen cut. Sure, they had lost some money because they weren't able to make this dig, but they were still able to break for the winter. The ADV venture continued as the team went about their business. Despite the many ups and downs that come with working with difficult people and the unpredictable world of gold mining, they were able to celebrate a number of victories, such as the amount of gold they were able to get out of the ground during Rick's first season as a mine boss. From his 6-month break to the thrill of extracting 1,000 ounces of gold worth about $1,200,000, the team was thrilled to hear that they would only need about 27 more ounces to meet their season's goal. You can imagine how tense things must have been before the final weigh-in, as they reacted with excitement when the scale showed that they had extracted 13,249 ounces of gold, which was enough to meet their goals now that they had broken the 1,000-ounce barrier by extracting about. So far, they knew their future was bright. Not only did he promise the future of his team's family, but Rick celebrated by giving each member of the team a bucket of gold. That's 30 ounces of gold, if you can believe it. I know what I'm doing up there, or I wouldn't be asking you to do this. Hopefully, they will be able to get even more gold in the future, from working as the show's most famous cast member's right-hand man to becoming one of the most successful mine bosses in the world. Klondike, this is how Rick Ness found the world's largest gold mine.